everybody. I am so excited because I have my best friend in the whole wide world here. Cut that out, Nathan.
No, don't cut it out, Nathan.
Zach and I have been friends for at least 10 years now. We've sung together countless times at this point, at least 10. So
it was really weird. Yeah, a lot of the main stage stuff you got, I would also have a weird supporting role in.
And then we both left the opera world pretty soon after. You're doing acting and you're in commercials and you're in short films and you're working your way, and soon you will invite me to the Golden Globes.
Yes, that is the goal.
That's the trajectory. Well, I was intrigued because you have a basic understanding of video games, but you also like super don't, because you have your own addictive tendencies and you prioritize your career over turning video games into a career, and then doing the complete opposite. You have healthy boundaries with video games, whereas I decided to have it envelop my entire being.
I do and I don't. That if I am introduced to a game and I start playing it, I tend to 100% the game. The last games I played were during COVID. It was Ghost of Tsushima and Final Fantasy Remake. And I think the one that Marco's most proud of is he introduced me to Witcher 3 in the middle of my Arizona Opera apprenticeship. And I disappeared.
You did this
3 months.
I feel like you finished the story within like 3 weeks.
I did, and then I was just collecting Gwent cards.
So we're here because I want to prime you and sort of share with you what you've been missing. There's a game that came out called Blasphemous 2, and one of the fights, it's a boss fight. The song is called Subita caligrafia di plata. It's literally just a drum fight. It's very interesting. And I found it really, really weirdly provocative, even without the context. So imagine a boss fight with just this music. It's just rhythmic pattern. It's fascinating.
I love war drums.
Yeah. You already start to feel it picks up in rhythm here and tempo.
This really gets the adrenaline going. I want to flip the table right now. I am like amped up.
Here's that big fast tempo pivot.
It's so evocative. These are the two cultures I think of. I think of Celtic drumming, and I think of Japanese war drumming. I imagine lines of ancient warriors standing in a line about to take a battlefield together. So simple, and yet there is something I think so deeply human about war drumming.
In the simplicity of it, if we allow ourselves to go somewhere with it, regardless of context or not, like you can really like take it to a whole nother level. And that music can like sort of invigorate this sort of like intrinsic human quality, especially because the drumming has been around for thousands of years.
I think my heart is actually beating faster than it was when the video started, which makes me actually worse at the fine motor skills part. So like if I'm playing the game, I actually hate that music because I'm like, oh God, it's such an anxiety zone that I can't do the thing.
We're going to move over to Monster Hunter World, Pride of a Nameless Hunter. These are light motifs from the game. Like that's a leitmotif, and it just kind of ties everything together.
It's very east meets west.
Yeah.
This is very Celtic once again. You had that little penny whistle sound from Remake.
Do you know Monster Hunter at all? Do you like know?
No, I have never played Monster Hunter. I have a ton of friends that play Monster Hunter. I am fully aware that it's a very popular game. The scales that they use sound very Eastern, and then the orchestration sounds very Western. It happens a lot with Japanese composers. I'm a big Studio Ghibli fan. I feel like a lot of those soundtracks kind of walk that line too, where it feels like a meeting of many cultures in one kind of sound.
What I really like about that particular song is how melodically focused it is. Ba-da-ba-da, ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. Yes, I am here. I'm going to go and do my job, and I love my job. But it's beyond that, too. The scope feels much more grandiose. It's almost philosophical.
It's so heroic and such a mashup of a lot of different components that it feels entirely new.
Something I listened to recently that I think you would like because of it's got a lot of sensitivity.
I am a very sensitive man. Sorry, what more time? What was it? Secret of something?
It's the Secret of Mana Remake's intro music, which is beautiful.
I'm immediately into this.
Right.
Love that. I'm a sucker for low strings, baby.
Yeah, and I love piano, so.
Oh, so good.
Isn't that stunning?
Oh my God. When you boot that up, you know exactly what you're in for. There's a deep undercurrent of emotion. There is such a commitment to telling a fully rounded emotional story in those games that you didn't get a lot of places at the time in video games. Listening to that, like, it immediately is like, take me seriously.
This particular theme, Chrono Trigger, Schala's theme, which I played through Chrono Trigger recently, it blew me away, and it really holds up beautifully. And this music just is just so poignant.
I love that little like raindrop drop.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's strophic too. Incredibly simple in that way.
There's something that is deeply comforting about that whole genre. I mean, like, this isn't quite 8-bit soundtrack, but it's like kind of in the retro game verse. It's like, I don't know, like candy or popcorn. You keep wanting to hear the same thing over and over and over again. And I don't know how they achieve that. It's just like a really good and stimulating soundscape.
The way that it ascends up to me is a real, like, feels like an outcry. Because of its range, it feels very vulnerable and very innocent. But the drums give it this sort of like silent determination, even though, you know, Schala...
Or even like a playfulness, because you're right, these melodies almost sound like noir, like kind of like Blade Runner or something. This kind of like ennui and longing. And then underneath you have something that's kind of goofy or something that's a little more playful. You said exactly what I was thinking, and I needed to remark on it.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, you know, Schala is watching her mother sort of make the wrong decisions, so to speak. It's a little bit more complicated than that. And so she's kind of left there just to be like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm losing my mom. I think it's very tender, and it's very evocative of like her desperation, but it's also about like her willingness to try to find an alternate route and trust a bunch of strangers. It's so...
I keep interrupting you. I'm a terrible guest. Akira Toriyama's animation style and for the characters of this game, it's just in the thumbnail. That even adds to, I mean, Dragon Ball was such a big part of my childhood. I love Dragon Ball Z. Adding Akira Toriyama's art style with that soundscape even hit me harder. Sorry, go ahead.
Zach, you should play Chrono Trigger. I mean, that's an easy way to get, and it's only 30 hours. Even if you did everything, it wouldn't be a major commitment. It wouldn't be like the games that you've played where you like.
This is what you always say. He's just gonna leave a console and a game at my house plugged in on the starting screen.
Something else that's really nostalgic for people is World of Warcraft. It just celebrated 19 years of being out, which is insane. Grizzly Hills was maybe something that you played back in the day, but this is one of the areas from World of Warcraft. That shit's loading.
Oh, yeah. I like that. Little French horn action.
Man, that is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And that clarinet comes in.
Oof. Shades of Aaron Copland here. Sounds very American somehow.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I like how the woodwinds represent the like trees.
Yeah.
Let's stop there before we get teleported to another dimension. You really feel like this like eternal peace. It's fascinating.
Really it is. And such a great selection of instruments. If you're trying to create a place like the Grizzly Hills, which I doubt I ever visited, imagine this place that's rugged and it's hard to exist there. And they chose the fiddle. Like you get violin played in this kind of jumping around style that's very evocative of the Appalachian Mountains here in the United States. French horns underneath, which kind of underscore this sense that nature is huge and vast, untamable, unconquerable. The woodwinds come in for the trees and everything. It's a very well-crafted selection of sounds.
It's like the people are really rugged, but their hearts are really big. You know what I mean? Like that's picture like, oh, what are you doing over here?
Yeah.
All right, I'll help you. So something I like to do on the channel is guess who League champions are based on their themes alone. And I'm really intrigued to hear you. I know you, have you played League?
I have not.
This is a really great theme. Try not to look, well, you're going to because of this, but try not to look at the character screen.
I'm going to try to cover the screen. Is this good content?
No.
Okay.
Yes. No, this is not good content. League music is shockingly good. You wouldn't think it. It's insane.
Oh no, we got some metal bass.
Yeah.
If someone starts screaming, I am going to jump up. Must be dropped. His name is Aatrox?
The Darkened Blade.
Okay, well, that gives me a little bit of a clue. I was going to say, based on what I heard, we got either a guy who is straight up bad or some sort of anti-hero. We get our war drums back. We get that awesome heavy metal kind of bass, which tells me that maybe they're a bruiser or they're physically imposing in some way. I think that's reinforced by the fact that we have all these low tones. We associate low with gigantic, maybe some sort of dark omen, dark magic type situation. All right. Tell me about this thing.
Well, Aatrox is actually like in a blade. He emerges from the blade, and what we hear is like that sort of arrival onto the scene. Like, here I am, motherfuckers. You know what I mean? I'm ready to play. And he uses the blade as a weapon, and he is the weapon. Pretty much accurate. You know, he's a demon, a darkened form, and so on and so forth. And that's as much as I can give you. If you want to see more, feel free to check out the video on guessing who Aatrox, the darkened blade, is from League of Legends.
I'm looking at his picture now. Holy God. Yeah, he definitely looks like he's not fun to hang out with. That's my theme every morning before my coffee. Dun, 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 dun. My wife was like, "How are you?" And I'm like,
The song from Genshin Impact is called All Devouring Narwahl. This is a giant narwhal from a different dimension.
I love that. Yeah, once again, low synth and low brass.
Scythe. I love the trumpets there.
I love that. Yes.
It's got Nightfall Mountain vibes for sure.
Yeah, definitely. God, I love low grass.
Here, let's pause there and we'll pivot to the second section because the second section's crazy.
Completely different vibe.
Operatic strength music is great music.
How does anyone play this game? I'd just be dancing this whole time.
Isn't that nuts?
That's the same character?
You're inside the narwhal at that point.
Yeah, definitely more kind of traditional orchestral sounds going on. A lot of low brass. Adding the human voice or the choir to something always makes something feel like it is so powerful it needs to be respected.
Right.
And I don't know if that sounded like religious music almost at a mass or something like that. Maybe that's where that comes from, that idea of being in a place that needs respect. Therefore, you add it to something that's powerful. But the second part, like all of a sudden you're in a rave and it's awesome. And I love also the use of the human voice in that. Like adding a legit singer over the top of all that is wild. Love it.
It's just crazy because it's also in the peak of the range. So it's like,
yes.
And it's so visceral because of that height, I think, where it's not as effective if it's lower. Let's go to, you're a big Warhammer guy these days, aren't you?
I am.
I love it delayed, so you say it and then I see it. It's funny. So I saw your shame both in the voice and then in the face.
I've spent way too much money on plastic.
This is from Darktide. It's dope AF.
It's amazing. It's awesome, first of all. I haven't heard anything yet this whole session that I've been like, meh. I love like that, just that beat, just like we got terrible things to do and it's not going to look pretty, but we got to do them. And then you have auspices of grandeur in the background with the choir. It's that setting of Warhammer that is so kind of fantastic, where you have brutalism in counterpoint with this like high gothic art style.
Let's listen to Children of the Omnissiah, totally different. It's actually, in some ways, I prefer it.
Yes. This is so mechanicus.
I mean, what's not to love? It's so good.
Oh, I love the synth. I love electronica music.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
This oscillating ostinato organ.
That hits me right in my Warhammer soul. I don't play mechanicus, but that makes me want to. The idea that machines are living and there's the Omnissiah, all that stuff. That's all right. That fusion of kind of religious zealotism with things that are not even human is right there in the music.
Speaking of something that's in the similar range, Phantom Liberty, which was the DLC for Cyberpunk 2077, just came out, and it was one of the most painful games I've actually ever played, just in terms of like loss and intensity of that loss. And this particular track, Never Looking Back, was easily one of my most listened to tracks.
It just sounds like you're in for a hard time.
Yeah, right.
We're about to take you someplace that is gonna test you, but you're gonna be enthralled the whole way. Putting low synth and low tones, and then having what sounds like children or high sopranos singing over the top. This sense of like innocence that's almost being lost in this shifting sea of dark.
It's like a loss of naivete, a loss of trust, a loss of understanding. They call this white singing. There's no vibrato, and it's from a real like throaty sort of projected. It's very interesting actually, because it's a Slavic thing, but there's something so like an outcry about it that is I don't know, this song is haunting to me. I actually like fell into a trance when I was listening to that. It's so intense. This affected me out of context, and then in context it was terrible. It was like one of the most depressing things I've ever played. In fact, it was almost not enjoyable how powerful it was. There's a lot of opera in video games, and it's represented fairly well. There are some very bad singers at times. This particular example and the next one and then the one after that are fantastic. This is Astalgia of Phantasm from an MMORPG called Lost Ark, and this is a live performance, and this soprano is ungodly good.
Yeah, there's your Verity.
Exactly. It's great.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Gets better.
Yeah, indistinguishable from like an oratorio that would have been written in the 1800s or 1900s. That was like a Verdi Requiem in so many ways. Obviously, the orchestration's a little different. I saw a drum set, some keyboards back there.
It's a bit beefier for sure.
Yeah, you can sit that right down next to a lot of oratorios.
It's crazy, isn't it? That like we still live in a world where like if I were to present that to somebody, they might be like, well, that's from a video game. But it's like, well, listen to it. It's the same.
I love the Dies Irae motif at the beginning of that. The voice is kind of descending, really kind of evokes like wrath and terror all at the same time. I thought the lead singer was just wonderful, really solid singing, legitimately fantastic classical technique out of her, which is, it always been, I love seeing performers that have found this niche, performers that find their way to still use their voice in that way, but outside of classical music in things like this. Like, that is so admirable. Kudos to her. And kudos to that girl who was just rocking the cosplay the whole time, just had to stay committed for the whole song, just moving her hands. As an actor, I would die. I'm not nearly as graceful as her, but like me moving my hands for 5 minutes, eventually I would just be like, how much time? How?
We're going to pivot to 2 other tracks that are like this. The first one is going to be Raphael's final act from Baldur's Gate 3.
I love the pipe organ.
It's giving you Faust Act 3 all day.
Yeah.
Hell has its laws. Hell. Effect and
Exactly.
cause. Curtain falls, but hold your applause. Squirm, for now down here come the claws.
Is this a musical? What's happening? This is Hamilton.
Lives, all mortal lives, expire.
Is it during a cutscene? Like, what?
No, it's during the fight with Raphael. He starts singing his own song.
What?
And apparently you can silence him with D&D magic, and he won't sing. Hell has his claws.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to like play a game when that's going on. I want to be like watching that. I know this is the most successful game of the last year, and I've heard that it is very, very good. All that in mind, that was my least favorite of the day.
Oh, damn. Why?
Yeah. And it's because it's kind of like a salad of nothing. Like, there's fantasy elements, like you have the woman singing, which is kind of like folk song in a certain way. There's grandiose kind of choir sounds and pipe organ sounds in the background. I love all those individually, but then you throw them all together and it's kind of like, I don't know. It's like Moulin Rouge with less personality somehow.
Comes across as pastiche, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it doesn't commit in any one direction strong enough that I would care to listen to it again. I work with musical theater, like in the realm of musical theater now more than ever. And I love musical theater music and show tunes. And that is probably the furthest from the mark that I've heard today. It's like that spoken word thing over the top. Like, it demands attention, but it's not giving me enough to really hold my attention. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Do you think it's one of those things that if you heard it in the game that you would like it? Or do you feel like it's one of those things where, because that's the argument that folks may say is like, well, he didn't hear it in the context, so how's he going to enjoy it the right way?
Well, that very well might be. You know, you hear it.
It's essential, right, to like the plot. And
there's plenty of show tunes out there that I like just because I can think of the situation in the show where that song happens. But you listen to it without that context and man,
I hope people call you a music snob like they did to me. That would feel so good.
Come at me, internet. I don't care.
Babylon's Fall died upon entry, and it has one of the best classical soundtracks I have ever heard. Dragon's Pride.
Oh, that's fun.
It's like Mozart.
Oh, I love this. That is gorgeous. You said that game just was dead on arrival?
It died basically instantly. And I don't know how it has a soundtrack that's good.
That was so much fun. Good writing for the classical voice, too. Like,
Right.
the tenor sounded like he was having a good time. And that little pizzicato section where they're all kind of, yeah, it's almost classical period, almost Mozart, but more modern, obviously.
Yeah, I'm just stunned at how beautiful it is and how well it's written. And I think, like, for us who have been in the industry and we're in the industry for so long, like, even if the game didn't do well, the fact that that soundtrack exists and that, like, someone out there heard something so classically based just makes my heart just so happy, because all that bullshit of years of going to kids' schools and performing and trying to get people to come over to the opera and, like, understand and appreciate it, to hear that in a video game, it's like, holy shit. All right, we got 2 more songs. One of them is from Alan Wake 2. This particular moment is Alan Wake is in the darkness land. Let's call it, someone's going to yell at me for saying that. He's in
The darkness land.
He's trying to write himself out of this nightmare that he's essentially living. In this particular way that he's writing himself out of this moment, he decides to write himself into a musical. This is called Herald of Darkness.
I like to call this next segment the story of the journey of Alan Wake, the musical. We just do what we always do. We'll chat, but instead of talking, we'll sing it. From what I've gathered, you grew up nice and sheltered with mama's pretty stories and your own made-up fury. And mama gave me a magic clicker. Well, yes, I think it's true and fair to say. Come on in and listen, lost words you've been missing. Now the fire you're bearing, the eye of the darkness, your light. So you were drawn to stories early on. My dreams would light up my imagination. And you had nightmares night and day. Yeah, but with the clicker, I chased those frights away. Who knew? So true. So here is the clue of hope to remember. Visions, they come true. Bend the light switch to.
It knows what it is. They are in on the joke that it is kind of a campy joke. The whole presentation of it makes it more successful than it would otherwise be. It kind of leans into it in a way that makes you smile. I was entranced that whole time, not because the music is particularly, like, complex or good in any way, but because it knows what it is.
It's a funny thing, because, like, I literally thought that it was terrible when I first heard it, and I wanted to understand why I felt that way, because now I actually really like it, and I listen to it all the time, and it's fun, and it, like, feels really good. Oh, and I've spent the last 3 weeks trying to understand why I feel that it was terrible at initial reaction, and I think it's because when I watched it, I saw, like, an out of context, like, live performance, and I was like, what the fuck are they doing? But seeing it in this context and also starting to watch the gameplay and experience it, I'm like, oh, this is, like, silly and fun, and it's not supposed to be serious. And I think if you're a serious musician who, like, tries to understand the complexity of things, I think it's easy to, like, miss the cue, you know?
It comes off like a lot of those. Do you have any, like, really bad movies that you like? Like, they're objectively bad, but every time they come on, you're Troll 2?
Yeah, you ever seen Trolls 2? It's one of the worst movies ever.
Trolls 2.
See that movie?
Sorry, that's so unexpected. Trolls 2. Every time you see Trolls 2 on TV, you're like, well, I guess I'm here. I'm watching this now.
It's so good, it makes me smile, yes.
No, I was talking about movies like the Mortal Kombat from the 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah. I love more. Yeah,
the Godzilla movie that was made with Matthew Broderick. Like,
I love that movie. What do you mean?
You know, like, bad movies. They're not good movies, but they are.
I mean, it's not going to win an Oscar. It did.
Exactly. But we love it because it kind of knows that it's a certain level of silly.
Let's listen to this last song and then I'll let you go. You're not going to need very much explanation. You know what Doom is. It can only be one way, and I think you're already clear on which way it will go.
If we start this and there's, like, really heartfelt strings playing. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. All day. Yeah.
I mean, I don't need to ask you how you felt about that. I already.
I love that. Yeah, that is the only thing I want if I'm shooting demons with a shotgun. Doom is just knows what it is at this point. It's that magical thing of like, here's the worst situation possible, except somehow everything that you're fighting is less scary than you are. Once again, kind of all the way back to the first thing we listened to with those drums, like, you want to like get up and move around when you're listening to stuff like that.
I appreciate you coming on. I'm glad that I've sort of reintroduced you to like some of the like angles of spots that you've maybe missed.
Being able to listen to stuff like this with a classical ear is such a cool thing. And you've completely, this channel, these type of videos, you've completely reinvented yourself. I celebrate every day the fact that you had the courage to step away from an industry that at the time didn't fully appreciate you and start your own thing. I just, I'm happy to be in a video. I was going to say nobody's going to watch this. Just my mom watching it 500 times.
Anyway, with that, we're stalling the outro. People have already clicked off. With that,
great.
Thank you so much, everybody. Way to go, Zach. You really know how to do this YouTube thing. Thank you so much, everybody. Feel free to look up Zach's socials and stuff in the About section and check him out in the Golden Globes in about 5 years. So with that, everybody, we'll talk to you later. And bye. See you later.